Happy Friday! Happy Ohio State football eve, I guess. Welcome to a prime time Scoop World Order. Ward Manuel made some interesting omissions. Sean Moore, little interesting fact about him we're going to get into with Nevadabuck. Going to give you some predictions for the Akron game for the season. Take your questions. Appreciate you guys kicking with us a little bit late tonight. I know you guys are probably out partying. But had to run some errands this evening, so I just I really appreciate you guys kicking it, and it's gonna be a huge show. Excited about it. One of the best days of the year. The season is kicking off tomorrow at the Horseshoe. We will have a post-game show a couple hours after the game. We usually don't go right after the game because your boy has to get back to the nest so that I can get the show rolling. But we look for us a couple hours after the game. I'll try to get the show set up as quick as I can. And we will get you guys rolling. Again, turn your notifications on. Again, if you can click subscribe, and especially now that we're in season, click that little alert bell. You'll get an alert when we go live. Which again, I would imagine 8:30, 9-ish. It's a 3:30 kick. They're usually done about 7 hour or so to get home. So plan on 8:30-ish, and we will take your questions. We'll break the game down. It's going to be spectacular. Can't wait to have it. Again, if you guys love Ohio State football, if you're the biggest Ohio State supporter in all the land, join BuckeyeScoop.com. We've got a huge nugget dropping in the morning about what to expect. We had a very nice game plan at Nugget yesterday from Nevadabuck, but there's a lot of really good stuff, some really juicy stuff about who has shown out in practice. It's been a very violent fall camp. As many fights as there's ever been seen. It's very chippy, which I frankly love because I want my team to have a pretty nasty edge going into the season. So that is that's as good of a camp as I can have. Fights, nasty, people getting after each other. That's good because that means that when these guys get turned loose on the Akron Zips tomorrow, it's going to bode very, very well. And Akron is hapless, so it's going to be over very quickly. But there's a lot of guys got a lot at stake tomorrow, so we're really excited about that. I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Excuse me. LaCharles Bentley Buck. I got to get LaCharles out of there. Nevada, appreciate you, my friend. How are you doing tonight?
I'm so excited. I mean, it seems like it was yesterday. It was the Cotton Bowl, and the long off season is finally over. This is officially Christmas Eve, and we get to unwrap our packages tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern and see the 2024 version of the Buckeyes. And I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm like a little kid. I'll probably stay up all night waiting for the game to get going. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think this is the most hyped team in Ohio State history. I know that a lot of people talk about the 15 team that had everybody back from the 14 season, but you know the big drawback to that team was the fact that we lost Tom Herman, who was a maestro of an offensive coordinator, and I was worried about Ed Warner being the play caller and the O-line coach, and I thought it would be too much, and I was correct on that. But this year, when you add Chip Kelly to the fold, running the offense, and what he's done, and how sharp he is, and again, he's a guy that's literally, I think he's the best coordinator hire in school history. He's a guy that is obviously he's been a head coach. He's been a head coach in the NFL. He's been all over the place, but he's a guy that literally can run that room, run the offensive staff room, run that side of the ball, let Ryan Day actually coach and be a head coach and not have to, do 10 people's jobs like he's had to do for the beginning of his career. So I'm really excited about it. We projected that he would be up in the booth. He is up in the booth. I just thought with Ryan's acumen of the offense and knowing how to speak to the quarterbacks, it made a lot of sense for Chip to go upstairs because he can speak right to Ryan and Ryan can relay stuff. And obviously with the iPads and the communication, the helmets, it's going to be really much easier to communicate and break things down and fix things and get deadly efficient, which I think is going to benefit Ohio State in a tremendous way. Because I think that when you have a bunch of razor sharp offensive minds like Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, and then you give them tech, as in communications in the helmet and iPads, I think that they'll be able to get off script and really edit what they want to do versus what they're going to see. Because something, folks, that you don't understand with football is that just because you've gotten ready for a certain defense or you've practiced for a certain look there's no law that says that the team that you're going against has to run that. Now, again, with Akron, it doesn't really matter just because they're going to be so outmanned that it won't really matter what we do. But when you play real teams, like you play, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, it's a huge advantage to have guys that are on the same wavelength, and they speak kind of in the same tongues, so to speak, because these guys, when they see a certain look, a certain front, a certain coverage, when you have a guy like Ryan and a guy like Chip who've been together for so long, they'll know right what they want to get to from an offensive play calling perspective. So again, I think that's going to be exciting. I mean, Ryan's already been deadly on offense, kind of doing it by himself. So this is kind of like when LeBron got Kyrie, added the win the championship type thing. This is kind of like it's like almost like they're the big three when you got Jim Knowles, Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and I think that Chip Kelly is going to make Jim Knowles even better. And Jim was really good last year with the number 2 defense in the country. But there's a thing in the universe that this defense has not seen during this camp. That's a part of a modern offense. Obviously, we haven't seen like the wishbone or the triple option, but there's a lot of stuff that Chip Kelly likes to exploit. And I think that Jim Knowles is going to be able to relax a little bit since he's basically gone on the hardest possible difficulty setting through all of training camp on top of the players. Nevada, let's talk a little bit about Sharon Moore, Ward Manuel, the clown car that was at Michigan. I sent you a clip. There was a local, I don't know if it was Fox or ABC affiliate that interviewed Ward. And he basically, I don't know if he copped to it, but he said, sign stealing is everywhere and people do it. But this was, a person sending people out, getting video, coordinating everything. And he's like, that's what the allegation is. It seemed pretty damning to me. But again, that's just me. And again, we've been nails on this thing. We've been the forerunner of breaking this. And by we, I mean you, because you're the guy who's got the impeccable source. But what does it mean to you that Sharon Moore is one of 4 or 5 coaches in 1A football that does not have a signed and executed contract? Because for me, if I'm Sharon, and the only reason he's still here is because they basically handed him a lottery ticket. Here's $30 million, $6 million a year, 5 years. But he hasn't signed and executed the contract. What does that mean to you? And what does that mean in regards to the advanced scouting Connor Stalions accusations?
Well, a lot to unload. I mean, the first part is the Ward Manuel interview. And the Ward Manuel interview, he says, everybody steals signs, but that's not what this is about. Which is kind of what we've been saying since day one. That's not what this is about. This isn't about sign stealing. This is about advanced scouting, electronic surveillance, a multi-year, scandal that's going on. And he admitted the whole. I mean, he basically said that's what they're alleging, and so. I mean, that's in the notice of allegations. Not that we have already kind of gone through in great detail what the notice of allegations is going to entail, but it's going to entail a step-by-step unwinding of Stallings' scandal. And I think, for Manuel to say that like he did today, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. You can kind of see the foreshadowing. You can kind of see how this thing is going right now. And I like I said, we're on NOA watch, Panda watch day number 4 or 5 or whatever it's been since they've were served with the NOA. But I expect it to drop at any time. There's a number of people that claim that they have copies. When you ask them for proof, the proof doesn't seem to be, as forthcoming as it could be. I'm not sure if they're, I wouldn't put it past people to put out fake things as well. But the draft NOA talked about the clear and distinct competitive advantage that Michigan derived from this scheme. It talked about Connor Stalions' work. It didn't have word about the repeat offender because the repeat offender statute had not kicked in yet. But bad news all the way around. So now you take that to Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore is going in tomorrow as one of the few coaches in college football that does not have a contract. And you say, well, wait a second, what does that mean? Well, they signed a memorandum of understanding and all the things that you talked about, the contract terms, the number of years, the amount of money, et cetera, what that would mean. But like for any of you guys that are out in business, you do like a short form deal pending a long form agreement. You do a short form deal and those terms are good for 90 days. So he signed this in January. where they basically had a memorandum of understanding, 5 years, $6 million, some performance bonuses, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that contract came and that memorandum came and went and expired in April, and they've never gone to long form contract with Sharon Moore. And you say, "Whoa, that seems really weird." And as soon as I saw this, I was like, "Kirk, this is exactly what they did with Harbaugh. With Harbaugh, it was the extensions on his desk. He's got the pen there. He's ready to sign it. They're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And we kept saying he's never going to sign it because they've got language in there that terminates his agreement if he gets hit by the NCAA. Well, that's exactly where Sharon Moore's at. Sharon Moore's at the thing where, yeah, he's got this contract, 5 years, $6 million. But Michigan has language in the long-term contract that says if you're hit by the NCAA for sanctions, we have the right to void your contract. And so Sharon Moore's not signing it. And so they're at an impasse. So Michigan can't sign their head coach to a contract because he won't sign that language, and they won't take the contract without it. So that's where he sits right now, which is just an amazing, amazing story for any recruit that's contemplating going to Michigan because Sharon Moore, he literally does not have a contract. He is going down. I said before, I thought he would not survive this scandal. And some people scoffed, like, "Oh, Nevada, oh, that's so funny. He's going to." He doesn't even have a contract. He's an at-will employee as of right now, as of tonight, going into the game tomorrow. He's an at-will employee. So for Michigan, a story that was already weird is just getting weirder and weirder and weirder. But Sharon Moore, Michigan, no contract, and you ask yourself, well, why is that? It's because the NCAA is going to bang them, and they know it. They know that what Sharon Moore's facing, and Sharon Moore is in a difficult situation because he doesn't have clean hands in this. He was in under NCAA probation for recruiting violations, and then he went out and committed another NCAA violation by attempting to destroy evidence in the Stallions investigation, and is getting a level 2 sanction on top of that. So he does not have clean hands. He has nothing to enforce this contract with against Michigan, and as unstable a situation as it was, and we're like, "Oh, Nevada, no, it's nothing. This is a nothing burger. This is gonna." Your coach literally doesn't have a contract 8 months after signing a memorandum of understanding. That's a problem. That's a big problem for Michigan. That's an indication of how serious this thing is with the NCAA and how bad it is with this new notice of allegations.
Yeah, and most of the coaches, like the only one I recognize is Sean Lewis, who's at San Diego State, like much smaller institutions. Like it's not like there's someone at like Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State who are working on no contract. And again, like your term kabuki theater, where I think that they know what could be coming, and they'd have a very easy out without a signed contract to get rid of him. And you talked ad nauseum about the language that was in Jim Harbaugh's contract, which was why, I mean, I knew you knew that he wasn't staying. I felt like he wasn't staying just because, again, they made that man take a 50% pay cut, like what, 3 years ago, and to keep his job. And so, I mean, when you could do that to a guy that doesn't have options, and Jim Harbaugh didn't have any real options, but he also was interviewing with the Minnesota Vikings on signing day. He was also interviewing with the Denver Broncos. And, again, he loves to claim that he's some sort of ethical, truthful human being, but like he lied. He's like, "Oh, I'm never interviewing for a job again. This is it, blah, blah, blah." And he goes to charges like, a year later. And again, if you listen to the Ward Manuel, interview that he did, he talks about how, we had an offer to make him the highest paid coach in college football. Ward's trying to placate to the crazies that are upset at Ward that Harbaugh was leaving, but I don't think anybody could have kept Harbaugh there because he knows what's coming. Again, these guys do what they were doing. They're Enron. If you can get out of Enron before the IRS shows up and before the feds show up and before everybody goes to prison forever, then better get out quick, because that's what Michigan was. They're Enron. They're Madoff investments. Like they know what they're doing. They know that it's bad. They're gonna have this this myth of being virtuous and being whatever, but they knew what they were doing. And so what did he do? He went as far away as he could possibly get. He went all the way to Los Angeles, where nobody knows who he is, nobody cares. It's the perfect city for him to go to, because nobody really cares about sports out there. It's just kind of, it's fun to be seen at the games and stuff, but it's not like he went to a Midwest town where people would be all up in arms. Like, he got as far away as he could, and every person that could possibly go with him went. And Sharon Moore. The thing that was really interesting to me about is they said that the only person with a signed contract was Wink Martindale, who they're paying like $3 million to be their coordinator. He's an NFL guy. He's from the same. He claims he like invented the defense that they've run with the last two guys, with McDonald and with Minter. The last couple of guys, obviously McDonald, he's the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He was at Baltimore with the Ravens last year. And Minter's obviously the DC for the Chargers. But, it was strange. And I think Wink Martindale had enough, juice where he's like, hey, I know what's going on here. If you guys really want me to come here, you got to give me my contract and I get to sign it. And I don't want any language that says I'm in trouble for any of the stupidity that Jim Harbaugh did or Sharon Moore did or the former defensive coordinator did. So he's got a 3-year, $9 million total deal, which is obviously guaranteed. And I guarantee he doesn't have the language. Because the other thing I wonder is, and again, I know Sharon, he kept the job. Does it have similar language to what Jim Harbaugh's had, where if you are found guilty or you're a secondary offender or a repeat offender, do you is everything void and you can be fired for cause and all of your guarantees evaporate? So again, there is a lot of slime around this thing. And again, Ward Manuel, it's interesting. I don't know if I've heard him talk in like 7 months, and he's gotten the athletic director thing of the year, which is, it's just how stupid the National Football Foundation is that they gave that to him. And he was named the chair of the playoff committee. Again, stupid. And he's like been doing the press tour with like the most softball friendly media types that you could have. He's Sam Webb, the guy from Detroit. It was like softball city. He's trying to like cut a little bit of a PR tour and act like, he didn't know it wasn't him. So he's going to the state media types. Like we have those at Ohio State, guys that would never ever say anything bad about the program. They're never critical of the program, but you don't learn anything and you don't get anything of value out of that. And that's what the people are that he's going around to and trying to gender support for his position. Because I think he should have been fired in January. I mean, like at the national championship podium, I would have fired him immediately for allowing all this to go on along with the basketball team. I thought it was complete insanity, but that's just my opinion. Nevada, do you have anything else to add to the Michigan deal? And we can dig into a little bit of an Akron preview.
Yeah, no, it just, look, I mean, the one thing you'll notice that Ward Manuel's not saying is that this is a nothing burger or this isn't a big deal or this will blow over or I don't know what people are upset about or what's the big deal. You're not hearing any of that out of Ward Manuel. So, like, there's no bet coming out of Ward Manuel or Yoko Ono or any of those idiots from Michigan. And for no, in terms of the contract, no, the contract language is exactly as you described it. If you're hit with an NCAA violation, you can be terminated for cause, and your contract can be voided. And that's an unacceptable clause for Sharon Moore, but Michigan has to have it. And so right now, what is going on? And again, this is not a guess. Michigan they offered up Harbaugh's head, and the NCAA is like, he's gone in. We don't care. Now they're offering up Sharon Moore's head. They're going to put Ward Manuel on the chopping block at some point. And for the NCAA, it's not enough. They want the institution. They want the vacated wins. They want the non-recognized titles. They want the bowl bans going forward. So all this stuff that for Michigan, they're kind of in an untenable situation because they're running out of cards to play. We'll give you Minter, we'll give you Stallions, we'll give you Harbaugh, and this was like, no, we don't care about any of that stuff. We want you, and we want the wins, and we want that trophy, and But again, I've used this example before, but nobody would argue if you used an ineligible player that they would take away wins or they take away a championship or whatever it was. You think about what is an ineligible player? An ineligible player is that you use some sort of a means that you shouldn't have used that increased your chances to win. That's what, I mean, when you break it down to the most basic line, that's what it is. Well, what was this sign stealing thing? That's exactly what this is. You use something that you shouldn't have, that was illegal as a thing to help you win. And there's a very good case, a very good statistical case and otherwise that indicates that's the reason they were winning. They were 44-26 before this. They were 40-3 after this. So for me, all of this stuff. I mean, the only thing that we're missing from this is precedent, and it's just because nobody's been stupid enough to do this before. Otherwise, this case would be open and shut in terms of the public. But I think once this thing goes, this will be the standard case for everything going forward in terms of when you. This is when you cheat. These are the types of sanctions and penalties that you're going to face. And I think it's going to be. I mean, it will be sufficient enough that nobody will want to do this again. And that's the whole intention of the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The tone has changed, hasn't it, Nevada? Tone's changed. I mean, this is not bet. This is not we didn't do anything. Because again, I mean, he's done 3 interviews. Has he denied anything yet? Has he said, "Oh,
No.
we didn't do that. Oh, we never did that. Oh, it's all false. Oh, we'll be proven. We can't wait for our day." Like last year when they're talking about, we're gonna file lawsuits and injunctions and sue the NCAA. That's all gone. Because when you have the murder weapon and the bloody corpse and fingerprints and DNA and everything else in the world, all of a sudden you're like, oh God, this is really bad. Because again, when you're sloppy, like Connor Stalions was like as sloppy of a human being as there's ever been, and there's all this electronic data, and these guys know where to look, and plus you have guys that flip, like Matt Dudek flipped on these guys. I mean, there's not everyone, you know. I tell you guys all the time, it's just like the mafia. Like everybody's hard until they're facing 6 years to life, and they say, well, if you cooperate, you get 2 years, and you can be out, and you'll be named John Smith, and you can move to Salt Lake City, and you can sell relics by the road, whatever. Like, but these guys, I mean, there are guys in that program that are flipping because they're not trying to give up their coaching career for Connor Stalions, who's a moron. And again, and that's why all these people left. These people knew. Again, I've never seen anything like what happened to Michigan. These guys, with a Michigan man, I hope that when I'm laying there dead in the casket and, one of my former players or coaches is eulogizing me, that they just stand up there and they say, well, he was just a Michigan man. That would make me the proudest thing of all time. I'm like, so Mr. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, Mr. Michigan, literally ran as fast as he could after they won a national championship. So again, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen him clean out a coaching staff like that. I mean, it's honestly, I love it. It's absolutely beautiful because I feel like, they're so screwed, and they know that they're screwed, and they can act like they're not screwed, but those guys all knew. And Jim Harbaugh, I mean, again, it's one thing if you leave, it's another thing if you leave and take everybody with you. Because you basically rated the entire staff for Sherrone Moore. So he's basically started to get square zero. Again, the biggest FU you can do in coaching is when you take the strength coach with you. If you do that, like you notice Urban Meyer, one of his I mean, he had a lot of mistakes in Jacksonville. He didn't have his guys with him. He didn't have Pantone. He didn't have Voltolini. He didn't have Mickey Marotti. So he didn't have his aces. So he had guys that were, he had Schlegels, which is fine, whatever. He had, Fernando Lovo came, and he left after a couple of months and went back to Texas. So, but when you go into a place and you don't have all your dudes, it's really hard to change the culture and to set the tone and whatever. Because when Urban showed up to Ohio State, he had all of his dudes ready to go. So when he was trying to implement something, he knew what it was, and he had, you got to have all of your, it's like having all the arms of you have your Army, your Navy, your Air Force all working in unison, and that's what it takes in coaching. So, like I said, Jim Harbaugh raiding Schembechler Hall, taking every coach, and there were some coaches that stayed temporarily, and then they still ended up leaving and going to Los Angeles. And again, the operations chick, she got out of there. She's like, yeah, this is gonna suck because everyone's gonna get fired. Because that's the problem is any of those guys stay at Michigan, they're all gonna get canned. They're all gonna get fired. Either initially they're going to get fired, or they're going to be so bad with the scholarship reductions and the lack of good players. Because if when they get the bowl ban, kids don't want to be home for Christmas. These kids want to play in the playoffs. They want to play and win a championship. They want to win the Big Ten title. and it'd all be choked off. Like the year that we had in 2012, where we had to sell the entire team on, hey, if you go undefeated, we'll buy you a 12-0 ring, which is like, it's cool, but you can't win the title. You can't win the real Big Ten title. You don't get a trophy for going 12-0. You get a trophy for winning the Big Ten. You get a trophy for winning the national championship. So I think it's shocking, but you guys all tune in to the Scoop because again, we've nailed this thing, and you notice we're the only outlet that has never wavered. I mean, I'm telling you, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when the draft notice of allegations came out, you see Pete Thamel, oh, it's not going to be much, it's barely going to be anything. You see Mike Farrell, oh, Ohio State's going to, it's sad that you have to wait for the NCAA and blame cheating for losing to your rivals. Like, read the columns that those guys are writing now. Mike Farrell completely changed his team. Pat Forty crucified Michigan. Like, all the national guys are figuring out this isn't going to be good. This isn't going to be a $150,000 fine and a 2-game suspension. Like, that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. But again, the more I see, the more I can't wait till they drop the hammer on these guys, because it is going to be spectacular. Because what these guys did it's as bad of a cheating scandal as there's ever been in sports, and they know it. And the beauty about doing it in modern times is it's all backed up electronically. This guy, and again, when you listen to Connor Salian say these moronic explanations, like, well, I was in my apartment and I filmed every sign known to man, and I filmed every single thing, and I made a big flashcard of it. And I'm like, that doesn't help you pick signs. And this is coming from a guy, I literally picked signs when I worked at Ohio State. I picked them. Now, I never had any advanced scouting. I couldn't imagine how good I would have been then. I did it live, which is legal. So me knowing every single gyration that the human body can do isn't going to help me pick signs live on game day. Because all that matters is, what is the D coordinator or the live signaler doing? That's all that matters. So again, Connor's explanation, if you're a guy like me who's been in his shoes and counterintelligence and basically running circles around the opposition, like, you're not going to fool me. You might fool someone who's a moron, and you get your mom up there saying, oh, well, Connor bought me tickets to the game. And you get your random friend, oh, Connor bought me tickets to the game. And then he goes in front of the NCAA and they say, well, Connor, can you recall who you sent the tickets to? Oh, I cannot recall any names. I can tell you, anytime I've spent my hard-earned money on tickets for somebody, I can tell you exactly what game it was, how much the tickets were. Because usually, like, again, if it's a big game, like Connor's 7 Ohio State games and these big games, thousands of dollars is the cost to get in, especially when you got to buy two. You probably had to buy 2 seats, because if you want to get down in the lower deck of Ohio Stadium for the Penn State, Michigan, or Notre Dame games, like, you're paying thousands of dollars, and you're probably not able to buy a single ticket. You can't just buy one ticket. They're always in pairs or in 4s or maybe 3s, but there's very rarely one ticket available, because most people, they buy pairs of tickets. Like, when Ohio State offers to sell you tickets, they don't say, hey, you can buy one ticket, because nobody's going to buy one ticket. They're always going to have a pair so you can bring somebody. So, again, it's just my thoughts. Nevada, anything else? We'll wrap that. We'll start talking about the game tomorrow.
No, like I said, the best thing, the biggest tell on this whole thing is just watch the tone of the Michigan guys right now. Watch the tone of Manuel and the guys that know, man, there is not an ounce of defiance left in them. They're pretty defeated. It's the absolute polar opposite of where they were before, with all their bet gyrations and all that other nonsense. And that should tell you, because nobody would act like that if the thing was not, if the thing was less than they thought, or the thing was a whatever, man, they'd be crowing. They'd be like, oh my goodness, man, this was a great day to be a Wolverine. Everything's great, blah blah blah. No, that's not where they're at. They are absolutely raising the white flag right now, and rightfully so.
And like Ward Manuel is like, basically like, I'm not taking the fall for this. I mean, he basically said that. He's like, I'm not taking the fall for this. Like, I even though, again, it's stupid to say that when you're the guy who is over top the entire department. So if someone's doing something crazy, like, you still have to pay the penance for that. So that's why it's really important you get the right coaches, you get the right head coach. Because again, Jim Harbaugh can play dumb, but you're not fooling us. You're not fooling Nevada and I, because when you're the head coach, man, everyone that's under your umbrella is your responsibility, and you better know what you better know what they're doing on game day. And I'll tell you what, if a guy's making $50,000 a year, like Connor Stalions was, I guarantee you Jim Harbaugh knew exactly what he's doing on game day. This isn't like this was some student coach or whatever. This is a guy came from the Navy, counterintelligence. And the thing that's the fishiest that doesn't add up to me, because this is what I know. I know that the story, and again, Connor Stalions is he's a psychopath at this point. The story is that he went to a Michigan high school football coaches clinic. The same thing Ohio State does, the exact same thing. It's usually around spring. It's usually around the spring game. They usually have like a Thursday night chalk talk and a Friday come watch practice. He claims that he showed up there with his dad, and he went in there, talked to the linebackers coach, Partridge, whatever his name is, who got fired, and they said, "Okay, just show up on Monday. We'll find something for you to do." Like, there is no way in the universe that you could go to a place like Michigan or Ohio State, go to one coaching conference or one coaching clinic, excuse me, and say, "Hey, I want to work for you guys," and then have some coach say, "Okay, show up on Monday." The real story is he told these people, "Hey, I have this system. My coaches at Navy can back me. I'd like to show it to you, and this is what I do, and this is how I pick stuff, and this is how it could be an asset for you guys, and this could change your life. Like, I could really figure out a way to pick all the signs and make your life a lot easier." And again, that is the real story. Because again, like with a place like Michigan or Ohio State, like, you have to go through HR. There has to be a background check. Like, they don't just let people just randomly walk up to coaches and they're hired instantly. Like, there's a very rigorous process you have to go through. Even if you're already like, I mean, I showed up in 2010 after I got cut by the Broncos. My career was over, which was great. I was excited to be done playing in the NFL because I was tired of it. And I went and worked with Tress, and I was a volunteer. I still had to pass all the background stuff, which I did. But there's a lot of layers to that. They're very, very strict about who they hire and every little thing. And then and that was before I was even paid. He's like, "Hey, you got to volunteer for me until November, and if you're any good," which I was fine. I'd been in the NFL for a few years. I had plenty of money saved up. So I was like, I'll work till as long as you need me to work for free. So then after 3 months, he put me on staff, and I started getting paid. And it was a whole other layer of HR stuff I had to do. So you don't just show up to Michigan or Ohio State without a really thorough background check, because again, the liability for these universities, if they bring in some guy who is like Matt Weiss and he's a peeping Tom, or the Yoon kid who is a child predator or whatever, like, it's humongous, because the university can get sued for that and it can cost them a fortune. All right, Nevada, do you have anything to add to that, or do you want to get into the Akron stuff?
Let's get into the Akron stuff.
All right, what are your thoughts heading into this thing? Again, this is a 50-point favorite, which I think is the biggest we've ever had. Have we had one bigger than 50?
I mean, I'm sure we have, but it's a big number. It's a big number by any stretch, for sure.
Yeah, I think that maybe Alabama, or we played no, we played FAMU in 13, and that was the worst team in Ohio State that's ever been in the stadium. And it was like 35-0 at end of the first quarter. It was bad. But what do you want to see? Like, what would a good result look like to you tomorrow? Obviously, there's no question we're going to win. Obviously, we're going to win by a lot. But what do you want to see from individual players? What do you want to see from Chip Kelly's play calling, our pass rush? What are some things that give me 3 things that you want to see out of our team tomorrow?
Well, I'll give you my 3 predictions. How about for Nevadabuck's 3 predictions?
Perfect.
First of all, there'll be somebody starting on the field named Austin. Somebody named Austin will start at some position on the field for Ohio State. That'll be prediction number 1. Prediction number 2 is James Peoples will go for over 100 yards. So I'm not giving you obvious ones, man. I'm giving that, and I'm going to go with Ohio State will get 6+ sacks tomorrow. Those are my 3 predictions. Bold, I think they are, but I think they're very doable.
Is there a prop bet on Alston Seyerveld starting tomorrow? Did you lay any money on it? Did Max bet it?
I would, but if I could find that one, I do have the J.J. Smith to have a touchdown. So if you're on any offshore books, I have the J.D. Smith to score a touchdown because I do like that one an awful lot. But
Yeah.
yes, yeah, Austin to start would probably be attract a little bit of Nevada Bucks money for sure.
Yeah, Donnie Jackson's going to be out tomorrow. He hasn't practiced all camp, so he's going to be. I don't think we're going to see him until maybe Iowa. I mean, you got to hold him and get him healthy because he's been dinged and he's not going to be in any type of shape. I mean, he's a lean kid, but his conditioning for football is not going to be where it needs to be. So he's not going to play these first couple of weeks. There's no way. I wouldn't play him until probably Michigan State. I'd just hold him until that because you don't want to re-aggravate what he has. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see Austin Sarvel start at left guard, and Tigre at right guard, and how do they work in Carson Hinsman? Because I think Carson is going to do work. Like he's going to get in there, and again, he was an Iron Buckeye, which again, for those of you guys who don't know what Iron Buckeye is, it's an award that Bikini Roddy gives out for people throughout the summer. I don't know if it's a full January to July because I think that they used to do it kind of per semester. You know, they have like these 3 training periods. They have like winter 1, winter 2, summer 1, summer 2, where they basically divide up the programs basically. You know, that you have your 10-week program, then they test you at the end for your max bench, your max squat, your hang clean, your vertical, your 40, all that. But making Iron Buckeye is tough. I mean, I don't know if we had maybe 8 or 10 kids make it out of 130 kids on the team. So it's pretty exquisite to make it. And Carson made it. So they literally have the luxury of starting Austin Sarvel at left guard and Tigre at right guard. And you've got a 12-game starter who started at center for us last year coming off the bench. But I think he'll rotate in probably the 3rd or 4th drive at right guard. I think they're going to see how Tigre does. And again, it's like I always tell kids and folks and anyone that'll listen, just because you're the starter out of camp doesn't mean you're going to keep that job. It's not written in ink. It's kind of like making the opening day roster of an NFL team. Like, doesn't mean you're going to be on the team or you're the starter or whatever. And there will be guys that will get replaced going forward, and that's just part of the game and practice. And for some guys, the game will be too big for them, and for some guys, they'll get a crack. They'll get an at bat, and they'll take advantage of it. So I'm excited to see. The offensive line, I think the Chip scheme is going to be fantastic. I think he's going to be very exotic. I know people say, oh, we're playing, crappy Akron and they stink and they can't do anything. But I think Chip's the kind of guy that he'll put like 50 different things out there that he wants everyone to see that we're doing. Not to hide it, but just so that people worry about it and people have to practice against it and people have to try to emulate it and just give like this big load of crap to all these teams going forward. So when they're scouting us and they're trying to practice and they're trying to get looks of stuff, they're going to say, well, God, they did this and this. And the thing that he'll do is he'll edit that down to the point where, teams will waste time practicing stuff that Chip will never run against them. And that's part of the brilliance of it. And part of the brilliance of what he does is he can do so many different things. And then he'll basically pick each week off of it's like a menu and say, well, this is what could hurt these guys the most. So this is what we're going to do. And again, that's why I've watched so many Chip Kelly clinic tapes and his process and read every article and people say, okay, like Chip Kelly, is he good? Is he overrated? He's ever won anything? He was a failure at San Francisco and with the Eagles, and I'm just like, well, with the Eagles, his first year, I think they were like 12-4 or 10, whatever they were. They went to the playoffs. They went from like 25th in offense to like 5th or something his first year. And I mean, they really were like making a nice headway. And then, the quarterback didn't play well the next year and then it kind of went downhill. But then he goes to San Francisco and he has a terrible quarterback situation with Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick, who both sucked. So if you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, I don't care who you are. It's going to be like Bill Belichick hasn't had a quarterback since Brady left. And all of a sudden he looked mortal. So he's the greatest coach in NFL history. And without a great quarterback, he was fired within like 3 years. So, what Chip did at UCLA, I thought was very impressive because I think UCLA is an albatross of a program in the shadow of USC. They have no NIL funding. They have the second worst. Last year, they had the second worst athletic director in the entire country. No fundraising at all. Dead stadium. So for him to actually make those guys competitive and hit second in the nation in rushing the football, like that's incredible. And then he comes here and he's got Quinshawn and JJ and Trey Henderson and Emeka and Will Howard and this good line, and it's going to be dominating. So I can't wait to see what he does. A guy that I keep hearing about is Ennis. Brandon Ennis is going to be that dude this year. He's going to be the second slot guy behind Emeka, but he can play all over the place. I think that the four wide receivers, which is J.J. Smith starting at the X, Emeka's going to start at the H, which is the slot, and then you got Carnell at the Z. The four guys between the three spots will all play pretty close to equal snaps. So you could put Brandon out at the X, you could put Emeka out at the X, give JJ a rest. You could put Emeka or Brandon out at the Z and give Carnell a rest. You can give Emeka a rest and put Brandon Ennis at the H. And a guy that I heard about, Mylan Graham is going to be good. Like he is going to, he's going to get some work in. So he's a guy that to me, I think he's already the number 5. And he's only going to go higher and higher and higher. So I'm really excited about this team. I think that this team is, it's feisty. It's spicy. There's going to be a huge nugget that's going to drop tomorrow. If you guys aren't on BuckeyeScoop.com, I sign up just to read the nugget tomorrow, going into the season and the game, and kind of like a little mini season preview thing. That thing's going to be really good. So we're into that. So Nevada, any thoughts? And we'll dig into some super chats.
No, you're right. We need to unwrap the present tomorrow, and Chip. For a lot of times these games people think, oh, it's going to be really vanilla. Oh, that's not going to be much to see. Not with Chip, man. Chip he is thinking, 5 and 6 and 10 games down the line, where he wants to put stuff on tape. He wants to create tendencies so he can break them. He wants to create, play options and run stuff off of it. Everything with Chip is building towards something else. So tomorrow is just going to be the first step, even though it's Akron and we can say, oh, they're overmanned and this and that. For Chip Kelly, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. He's going to attack it the exact same way, whether it was a top 10 opponent or whether it's a bottom 10 opponent. He's going to start building his offense, and we get to see it tomorrow. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I think that the other thing you have to remember is with the way the clock goes and how few plays, you get 60, 65 plays now. So, I think that, I know that they're putting a huge premium on explosives because they want to pad the stats. They want to get Will Howard to New York because we haven't been able to close the deal. And, in these games where, you're only playing half a game or 3/4 of a game, like you got to get a lot of stats early. So I think they're going to take a lot of shots downfield. They're going to really exploit the back end, and because you don't want to play Will Howard just to get stats, in the third, fourth quarter as Akron, but they want to get big time stats in this game so they can put up big numbers, get off the field, get them out of there, and still have that 380 yards and 5 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown and 80 yards rushing, so that you can start the campaign for the Heisman. Because again, the Heisman, obviously, the biggest component in general is winning, but you have to have the statistics. If you don't have the statistics, it's really, really tough to win it because they put all the things side by side: touchdowns, yards, rushing yards, and that's why the kid from LSU, who wasn't really a threat last year in the playoffs, like his stats are so gaudy that he had to win the Heisman last year. So again, it'll be fascinating to watch. All right, let's get these super chats. Dave Mathis, thanks for the deuce. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. Nevada, your prop picks for the game, and also Nevada OH.
Prop picks, J.J. Smith score a touchdown. I think, offensively, any of the ones that you can do with the thing. I'd look for, like you said, I'd look for a Brandon Ennis prop if you can find it. Any of the skill guys. I like James Peoples a lot to really pop off. That's a little bit more of a long shot, a little bit more of a dark horse type of candidate. But my number one is J.J. Smith. You can get J.J. Smith at minus 126 to score a touchdown, and I really like that prop bet. I think that's I'd say that's a near certainty.
Yeah, I just don't know how you don't run everything through JJ at this point, because Caden Dixon Wyatt just touched down, folks, and he's probably either the best receiver in the country or the guy that he flew out here with, Chris Henry Jr., is the best receiver in the country. They're the two best receivers in the country, and they both play for Mater Day. They're both a couple years away. They're young. They're only sophomores, but I'm just telling you, they are the deal. They are freaks of nature. And so, again, if I've got a kid flying from Los Angeles to freaking Ohio to watch Ohio State play Akron, then I've got a true freshman starting who's, Optimus Prime, basically. If Calvin Johnson is Megatron, then JJ is Optimus Prime. So I'm throwing him the ball like 30 times. I'm not even kidding. Like, I mean, it would almost be a joke if he had me call the plays and say, let's throw it to JJ. Because again, I want those guys to know that if you're that dude, like JJ is, he is that dude, he is that guy, he is, as the kids say, him, then guess what? You can start. We're not scared to start a freshman. Again, this is the greatest recruiting thing of all time for Ohio State. We aren't scared to play a true freshman. We'll start you over Jaden Ballard, who's been here for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it's been. We'll start you. You'll cut the line if you're that guy. Now, if you're not that guy, then it's different. But he's that guy, and we're going to start you. We're going to feature you. The game's going to run through you. Because again, when you're the X, man, the whole offense runs through the X. That's all these throwing games are. That's Justin Jefferson. That's Calvin Johnson. That's Jerry Rice. Like the whole offense runs through that guy, and JJ is that guy. All right. Tom Gombar, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Can't wait to be back in the shoe tomorrow. Kirk, where will you be hanging before the game? I'll buy you a couple of beers. Nevada OH. I usually get there pretty close to kickoff. I go in the stadium a little bit early, but it's not. I usually am not lingering too much. I park, I walk in, and then I try to boogie home so that we can get a podcast knocked out, a post-game show, because people are always chomping at the bit for the post. So, again, we appreciate you guys for always jumping on, but I'll let you know. Shoot me an email, barton.145@gmail.com, and I'll see if I can get your contact information. But I usually am not tailgating, because I get invited to a lot of tailgates that I usually don't go to tailgate, because I'm usually pre-game show, go to the game, post-game show, boogie, have a good time. But I appreciate you, Tom. Buckeye Ryan, thanks. Buckeye Ryan 1, thanks for the deuce. Why is Ward Manuel doing all these interviews now? Well, I think he's trying to get the PR train rolling along, and I didn't have anything to do with it. And, there's some bad stuff going on. And I don't know why, 'cause I hadn't heard his voice in 8 months. And all of a sudden he's, the Stallions doc's coming out, the notice of allegations comes out, and he all of a sudden he's going to the most favorable, he goes to the networks and the beat writers that basically openly root for Michigan. They don't cover Michigan. They're not fair about Michigan. They're just lackeys. And again, that's what a lot of the media is now, except for Nevada and I, is that they're fans that get press credentials and they cover the team and they're like, man, this is great. I mean, I hope they don't realize I'm getting over as a fan and I get to go watch the game and I get to cry during Carmen, Ohio and whatever. And it's like, for Nevada and I, it's like, that's not what we are. And so we're never going to get like the interview, like with Ward Manuel or the AD or whatever, because like we'd want to ask real questions and get real answers. And that's why we have real information, because we're not just, going to spoon feed you guys gruel like your Oliver Twist. Like, we're going to give you guys like filet. That's what we do. That's why you guys show up. That's why people are on a Friday night, or, we'll have more views than any other podcast today, just because you guys know that we bring the heat when we show up. And that's the difference. And you guys can feel that difference. Nevada, Buckeye Ryan 1, again, why do you believe that Ward Manuel is doing all of these interviews now?
He's got to prepare the fan base. I mean, they got to prepare the fan. Remember, they've been telling the fan base before, bet, oh, we'll take it. Oh, this is nothing. And now they realize that, they're in deep trouble. So what do you got to? You have to prepare the fan base for this, because you can't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour with this thing overnight. So what do? You go to Scam Web, you go to the local Fox guy or whatever it is, and you have these like little softball things where you start talking about, well, when there's rules, we signed up to follow the rules, and when you break them, there's stuff that you get. Now, if it's too much of a penalty, we'll fight, but we have to follow the rule. I mean, that is called it's preparing the target right there. They hadn't done a very good job of done that. They'd been defiant. They've been trying to claim that this thing wasn't. They're not doing that anymore. Now they're into the damage control phase with the minions, because the crazies. I mean, you guys are on this site, on this podcast, know what's going on. So you guys know what's up. So when this stuff happens, it's not going to be surprising to you. To the Michigan idiots, this is going to be shocking. They're going to be all looking around, kind of going, "Wait a second." But Connor, he had a loophole. but Charlie Baker said we won fair and square. Like, what is going on? So like, Ward Manuel has to prepare them for this, and this is kind of part of the process that he's bringing them along. And he's going to talk about the rules, and then this will happen, and eventually, what this is going to morph to is this is going to morph to this was overreach. There being big meanies. It's a witch hunt. Blah 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 blah. That's where it's going. I'm just telling you. I know that with the roadmap on this, I've seen it. We've predicted everything that's going to happen. That's going to be the next phase of this. So this is just preparing the site, and then after this, they're going to go to the NCAA's big meanies, and they're targeting us.
Yep. And again, like there hasn't been a bigger 180 ever than what's got on from November when they're all tweeting bet, and they're all being cute, and they're all basically giving the finger to everybody and saying, "Oh, we're clean, we're good," to now where everything's radio silent. Ward Manuel is basically taking the fan base out for pizza, about to announce like the divorce. It's like, yeah, the parents can take a little kid down to pizza. It's not your fault. It's our fault. Ward Manuel's like, this is not my fault. This is their fault. This is a rogue coach. This isn't a rogue lone wolf. This is a rogue coaching staff. This is a bunch of guys that were, basically scoundrels, who were at wit's end. They were a dog forced into a corner, and they figured like the only way I can get my way out of it is to cheat like a mofo, and they did. And again, like, we'll see. Like, it's so patently bad when you see how they acted and how stupid they were. Because again, the one thing that you don't hear Ward Manuel say is that we're innocent. We didn't do it. We had no idea. This was just little old Connor by himself in the office. And again, in the football office and on football game day and with 4K footage, like, everybody knows what everybody's doing. Like, I'm just telling you, like when I worked at Ohio State, I knew what I had to do. I knew my jobs. I knew who my superiors were. They knew what I was doing, and they knew what I had to get done. Like, I mean, every day you've got stuff that you have to get done. I had to do the scripts. I had to do the breakdowns. And if they weren't done, then, like, what's going on? So the people in Michigan knew that Connor was breaking signs. And I guarantee you that he ran through what he found, kind of like, it was probably like a book report where he'd run through it with the coordinators, with each coordinator. These are the signs I have. These are the ones I'm not sure on. But this is the stuff I can get for you, and blah, blah, blah. And how often do they change their signs? Have they changed their signs at all this season? Have they changed it a couple times this season? Like, that's how that stuff really works. It's not like what did not happen is that, they show up on game day and Connor Stalions is like, "Oh, hey, coach, I think I know the signs." Like, it's like, no, those guys choreographed it. They went through it. Because again, if I'm a play caller, if I'm Jesse Minter or Sharon Moore calling the offense, I'm not just gonna like hope that this little like dorky 25-year-old psychopath kid knows it. I want him to show me that he knows it before I start risking my career calling stuff based upon what he's saying. Because again, that's how it works. Because again, I've been that guy. I've missed a sign before, and we've called a play off of a broken sign that I missed, and I got destroyed by Urban Meyer. And again, I deserved it because I was wrong. So again, I made sure if I had it, I had it. Because I was not. If it was something halfway or was a signal I'd never seen before, I didn't go on the information. So again, that's how it works. You guys want to know what the scoop is? That's why you're here. Kevin McQuaid, thanks for the 20. Tomorrow is game day. Tomorrow's also my twin brother Carl and I's 40th birthday. Well, happy birthday to Carl and Kevin McQuaid. That's awesome. Any relation to Jake McQuaid? Jake McQuaid is an awesome Buckeye. He might still be in the league. Played he'd be in year 14 or 15, like long snapper, was on the 06 team, but he was a Pro Bowl long snapper from Ohio State. He's played forever in the NFL. For our birthday, can we get a rant? The team knows cheating and why no bylaws cover their cheating butts. Go Bucks, and happy birthday, Carlugi from Kebner. Love you, bro. Nevada OH.
I-O.
Well, I kind of just gave a rant, Nevada, so I don't know if you want to give it a rant on the team up north's cheating and why no bylaws cover their cheating butts. I mean, again, that's the funny thing is when there was all this stuff about, Connor used his family to do it and there's no laws against that. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, at what point are you guys going to stop being fooled by the dumbest alibis of all time? But Do you have anything to rant about Nevada in terms of the Michigan
Well,
scandal?
no, I thought though your point that you made though earlier about like no coordinator in the world is going to take your word for it that you know it, and no coordinator in the world is even going to take the word for it. Even if you can show them that you know it, they're gonna be intellectually curious enough to say, well, how do you know this? How do you? And the answer of I watch a lot of television and I do the signs in my basement in my underwear isn't going to fool anybody because everybody in the world knows you can't pick signs off the television. You can't pick signs off the all 22. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Nobody believes that. So all these coaches are going to want to know, how do you know it? Demonstrate to me that you know it. And now that you know it, like you said, how are you going to get this information? How are you going to communicate it to me? And then how am I going to communicate it to the team? Because that's all got to be synchronized. It's all going to be part of this thing where it's like, we got to get this thing right. We have to be, because we got to be able to do this all within like 15 seconds and get this
Hmm.
thing done and be exactly, because you can't miss. If you're going to trigger and send the safeties, you better be sure it's run right. And Connor's got to do it. So yeah, this idea that this was a rogue agent or that this was anything other than a complete sellout by this Michigan staff is preposterous. The good news for everybody is the NCAA knows that. The NCAA knows. The NCAA isn't stupid. The NCAA knows. They understand that these are the types of things that can only happen with a great deal of coordination, with the fact that they referenced his proximity to both the coordinators and Jim Harbaugh on the side. This little $50,000 a year recruiting analyst has got the ear of the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, and the head freaking coach at Michigan during the Ohio State Michigan game. Please. So I will have never been so happy to see somebody getting theirs as I am seeing Michigan get it because they deserve it. It couldn't happen to a more arrogant bunch of guys. And like I said, I love the fact that that justice prevails, that you can't get away with doing something wrong. And look, the bylaws are very specific on this. The only thing this lacks is precedent because nobody else has ever been busted for this because nobody else is stupid enough to do it. But with them, they're dumb enough to have done it. They got caught, and now the hammer's coming down. And I'm telling you, the NOA. Wait till you read the NOA. The NOA is going to be in public for everybody to read, and it's going to be so bad. We think that the mainstream media has turned. You haven't seen anything yet. Wait till this next NOA comes out. It's going to be an absolute monsoon of bad publicity for Michigan.
Yeah, because like I've said it a million times. So you have to understand these coordinators when they're making these play calls, every play they call can affect their family's livelihood, especially on defense. I mean, you make the wrong call and you give up a bomb and game's over. Like you're packing up and moving to from Michigan to Eastern Michigan. You get fired in this profession, man. Not there ain't no guarantee you're going to have a similar paying job, a similar city to live in. Ann Arbor is rated as one of the top 50 places to live in most of these. So that's a good job. Like working at Michigan's a good job. You make a lot of money. So if you're going to risk all this and you're going to bet on Connor Stalions, like you're going to be really sure this guy knows why. And again, these guys are going to sit there and they're going to say, okay. The first thing he says, okay, why should I trust you? How do you know it? Why are you so sure? And he's going to sit there and say, well, I've got people that go and here's my process. They send me the film on Saturday night. I start breaking it down Saturday night with the breakdown film that we have. Like if we're getting ready to play Penn State, we've got 5 games broken down from Penn State. I've got their signals from a couple games. Again, that was why it was so important that he went to 7 Ohio State games, is because he had to see what's the pattern with Ohio State. How many times have they changed the signals this year? Could they change them for us? Maybe they haven't changed them at all. Maybe they change them every other week. Maybe they change them coming out of a bye week. There's so many layers that you have to look for, because for Connor, like the most important thing is that when he does all that homework and all that signal stuff, he has to make sure that Ohio State is still using those same signals on the day of the actual game. And so, I'm sure in the beginning of the game, he's looking over there and he's like, okay, there's Keenan Bailey or there's whoever's the signalers, and Justin Fry's over there, and Justin's signaling to the O-line, and this guy's signaling to the near receivers, this guy's signaling to the far receivers, this guy's signaling to the quarterback and the backs. Like, again, they've got 4 or 5 signalers dancing around over there in their different colored shirts. And and he's trying to pick all of them. And so, but again, this would be similar. Like if I said, Nevada, let's go to Vegas, and I know how to read cards or count cards or whatever, and you should bet based upon what I tell you to do or what I can see or what I know. Like you would say, all right, Kirk, let's go stand by a table and you show me that you know what you're doing before I go and take out a marker and put thousands of dollars down on hands, and then you whiff, and then I'm in the hole for a bunch of stupid deals. So these guys have a lot at stake, and they were going nowhere fast. That's so when this guy showed up and he had a magical solution to how to get after Ohio State and how to magically become incredible on defense after sucking for all those years. It was the forbidden fruit basically, and they all took a big giant bite of it. I mean, they ate the apple, the core, the seeds. They ate all the forbidden fruit with this one. And they're going to pay a ridiculous price, a very heavy price, because, again, this is so unprecedented, and it was so stupid to do because, again, when everything is electronic, when all the tickets, there's no paper tickets anymore. He was using iCloud and uploading this video and, or Dropbox or whatever, thing that, because again, these are, he's probably getting, 150 video files, because I'm sure that the kid probably that was doing the tape probably stopped it between every play. He'd probably get the signals, film the beginning of the play, and then Connor would sit there in his underwear on Saturday night and splice it all together and make sure that it was working, start studying it and taking notes and cracking the code and whatever. But it's a lot of work, and it's something that I think is going to be exquisite when these guys get smashed, because it's so dumb to do. All right, what do we got? Buckeye Ryan, thank you, my man. Thanks for the deuce. Is the NCAA the intended audience of Ward Manuel's interview? I don't think so. I don't think they really care what he has to say at this point. I think that the audience is Michigan's fan base, so that they can temper expectations. Because again, I'm not seeing this defiant FU tone that these guys carried for the first 8 months. And, Jim Harbaugh could be real defiant and have that FU tone because he's, 5,000 miles away in Los Angeles or whatever. So it doesn't really matter for him. But I don't see the defiance that I saw all last season and leading up to the championship, and oh, it's us against the world, and everyone's against us, and everybody. It's like, no, everyone's against you because you guys are liars and cheaters and basically thieves. That's why we're against you. It's not because you're Michigan. Like you've been irrelevant for since '97 basically. So, Nevada, do you believe the NCAA is the intended audience of Ward Manuel's interview?
No, it's definitely the fan base. That's why you go to the most sympathetic people possible, and you start, laying out this, kind of case for why these rogue agents broke the rules, and your only hope, your Hail Mary for Michigan is to again try to throw Jim Harbaugh under the bus, back it over him, Stallions, give him Sharon Moore, and just pray that it's not a long-term postseason ban. But that's literally the only cards that they have. But again, the thing that's sorely lacking from all this is any defiance. Not, nobody. There's no more defiance coming from the coaching staff. There's no more defiance coming from their insiders. Or nothing. That should tell you all that you need to know about where Michigan is in this scandal. It's the dawn of realization is kind of come to them, and it's fun. It's fun for us to see because we're vindicated and everything we told you was going to happen. But I'm just glad. Like I said before, but I like to see justice done to cheaters, and this one is beautiful, and I can't wait for the NOA to be public.
Totally agree. Dan Welch checks to the deuce. I hear crickets in Ann Arbor. Yeah, because they know it's over. Nevada OH. Yeah, they know it's going to be a bad day. The day of reckoning is here, and it's really, really fun for us. Lee, thanks for the 5. So happy Buckeye Ball is back. Tomorrow's the start of the end for the Cheaters. Trash talking back to mid-tier for them this year. Totally agree. Go Bucks, Nevada OH. Totally agree. Menace to trucking. I like that. Thanks for the 5. New to the scoop and loving it so far. But for the love of God, please don't have Yoder on frequently. That guy's the worst. F Michigan, Nevada OH.
And I agree.
Oh my god, I love Yoder. Yoder's the best. He is a funny dude, man. He was a little wild the other night when he was talking about the 2 games and $150 suspension, or he said 500,000, but I can't see it. There's no way. Christopher J. Rich, thanks for the 5. Real serious question: can they take away 3 wins versus Ohio State and that NC they won? Well, they could vacate them, absolutely. And I think that that's going to be the measure that they're going to take out. Again, we had the entire 2010 season get vacated for Tattoo Gate, and this is a million times worse than that. So people that say the NCAA doesn't have any teeth, like they just gave Jim Harbaugh 1 year suspension. I mean, I know he's not there, but that still stands out. Arizona State, again, I think they're going to get lack of institutional control. I think it's going to be spectacular once this stuff comes down. And oh my god, I can't wait to podcast when that happens. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, thanks, Christopher J. Rich. Thanks for the 5. Real serious question: can they take away 3 wins versus OSU and that NC they won?
Yeah. Now, the important thing, we've talked about this distinction before, but there's a difference in vacating and forfeiting. Forfeiting, they would get a loss; their opponents would get the win. In vacating, they just lose the win, but their opponents that lose any losses still stay with their opponents. So
Right.
that's an important distinction. So we're not going to lose the losses to Michigan. Ryan Day is not going to lose the losses, but Michigan will lose the wins. And if they don't recognize the Big Ten title, the Big Ten will take it away. They don't recognize the College Football Playoff Championship. The College Football Playoff Committee will more than likely take. I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where they don't take that away as well. So I really think it's 3 years of vacation and then 2 years of postseason bans going forward. So a really super bad outcome for Michigan.
Totally agree. Carl McKay, thanks for the 5. No relation to Jake. Thanks for clearing that up. Could you or Bavada Nuck work your magic, put a bug in Day's ear to have the final score be 48-0 for Cabin Eye's birthday, Nevada OH?
Oh,
Nevada, if we won 48-0, would there be a lot of angry Buckeye fans betting the over on that game? I think there'd be a lot of angry people on that.
yeah. Well, see that's the curse of being the head coach at Ohio State is you can win a game 48-0, and you'd probably have 75% of the people thinking that underachieved,
Yeah.
didn't do a good job, and it's just with legalized gambling now everywhere and as prevalent as it is, man, that's never been, the idea that coaches don't know the point spread. I guarantee you Ryan Day knows the point spread. Every coach knows the point spread. So if he's going to do everything he possibly can to get it over that 50. But yeah, 48-0 probably would be viewed as a little disappointing by some Ohio State fans, and that's a tough way to live.
Totally agree. Mike Green, what's up, my dude? Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 5. Poop again. I'm not going to swear, but I do appreciate that. That is funny. We'll make an excuse no matter what happens to them. They hate us while wearing our Ohio versus everyone t-shirts. They are arrogant and they are stupid and they're going to get smashed because it's a bad. I think that the pride before the fall is going to be their new mantra instead of like champions of the West. It's going to be pride before the fall because again, when you listen to how they acted last year, and then you listen to Connor Starians, who's a complete moron in this documentary, saying, "Well, I would have done it all again. I didn't do anything wrong." I'm like, dude, like at some point you have to figure out you gotta show some contrition. Like if I was him, I would be begging for mercy. Please kill me. Don't kill the team. Whatever. Everyone's gonna get killed on this one. But I mean, he's just so stupid that he doesn't realize like he's so far behind that he thinks he's ahead. And I think that's all of Michigan. They're so far behind that they think they're ahead in this thing. And I'm like, you guys are about to get absolutely crushed by the NCAA. And I can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be awesome. I got another Mike Green. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my dude. I'll let you think something about it. Yoder, they won't punish us. We make the network too much money. These people are more delusional than Carmares. Oh my god, I love that. That's really good. Nevada, your thoughts that they won't punish because of the networks? Because that was a beauty.
That was one. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I just like I said, I know Yoder's a friend, and I know Yoder's a troll, and I know Yoder's a nice guy. But boy, he said some stupid things, and that the idea what you have to remember is the television contracts are all in the barn. They're already signed. They're not
Yeah.
like, well, if we lose Michigan, then we get to reduce the television deal by $150 million. No, it's all done. I mean, the television contracts are signed. So they couldn't care less what happens to Michigan, man. They absolutely, if it's not Michigan, that just means Oregon's going to be a little better, or USC is going to be a little bit better, or UCLA is going to come up, or whatever it means. They don't care. They don't care. That, like I said, that's just the little things that Michigan fans tell them, along with that Charlie Baker said we won fair and square, and, we're too big to fail. We did nothing wrong. Connor found a loophole. Santa Ono, Yoko said bet. I mean, it's all the same silliness, but that was really silly. And if you guys remember, I called him out on it. I was just like, that's just a silly comment, because there's just no truth to it at all, zero.
I mean, like to me, it's kind of like wouldn't you want like Miami to be good like they were in the '80s, or wouldn't you want SC to be dominant with Los Angeles or whatever? I mean, they both got smoked, and I've said it 100 times. When I played, Alabama was completely irrelevant. We didn't care about Alabama. We never even thought about it. When we were going through the season, we're thinking, okay, SC is real with Reggie Bush and Leinart, and Texas is real with Vince Young. Michigan's going to be good with Henny and Long and Hart and all that. I didn't know a single player on Alabama's team. Like I really didn't. And my senior year was Saban's first year, and they lost to Louisiana Lafayette at home, or Louisiana Monroe, I think it was one of those two. So I mean, for him to say it was Ohio State, Michigan, Bama as like the big three that were untouchable and whatever. I'm like, well, I was there when they smoked us, and they gave us a bowl ban, and they had all this stuff hanging over, and like we went 6-7, and like the networks were like, oh my god, how are we gonna be able to feed our kids because Ohio State sucks and they're not going to be in a bowl game, or they're going to be in the Gator Bowl instead of the Sugar Bowl or the Rose Bowl and whatever. But I don't know. Like I said, in college football, man, if you screw up, like nobody is too big for the NCAA. Nobody's. It's kind of like in the NFL. No one's too big for the Shield. Like I mean, the NFL smacked Tom Brady and Belichick for Deflategate and Spygate and all the other gates that were involved with. So, yeah, like I mean, the machine keeps rolling. That is college football because people are going to tune in and watch. And this will be by far the highest rated season of all time, just because we have the playoffs now. I mean, nobody cared about those ancillary bowl games before, but now you're gonna have all these playoff games. It's like everyone's going to watch every minute of that stuff because it's going to be so fun to see these teams go and host a home playoff game in Division 1A football. Like that's going to be fascinating to watch. Mike Green, what is up, my man? Thank you again for the deuce. He said, last one, they didn't hesitate to hammer us. I agree. Nevada, you agree with that? I mean, I lived it. I was in the building when it happened. Cost us Jim Tressel, cost us Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor was the Heisman favorite, and he never played again. Like threw him out like the baby with the bathwater, baby. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, there's no bigger brand than Ohio State, and Ohio State. If you do the crime, you got to do the time. And look, the networks realize that, they understand it, and even what we're talking about, you're looking at like Nevadabuck. What do you think? I think it'll be a 2-year Bospies ban. You don't think that Fox will survive for 2 years if Michigan isn't in the 12 team? Well, what happens if Michigan goes 8-4 this year and they're not in the 12 team playoff? What, is Fox going to go out of business or something like that? Nobody cares. They just want 12 teams. But any 12 teams out there, and Fox is just fine with it. And the Michigan, but it's just the arrogance of the thing that they think that they're way more important than they are. They feel like they've got some place of royalty in the college football lineup, but they're not. They're Fredo Corleone is who they are, and they're really not. They're not part of the royalty. They've kind of slipped into the family because of other people that are more intelligent relatives, and but they'll figure it out. I mean, and they are figuring it out now. That's why it's nice to see them at least now realizing that things are going to get bad for them, and I'm here for it. And I'm here for all you Michigan fans. If you need a shoulder to cry on, Nevadabuck is here for you. I will extend to you the crying towel, and I'll comfort you through this difficult time.
And we'll even offer you, if you need more emotional support, you can join BuckeyeScoop.com for $12.99 a month too, and we'll be there for you all the time. We can't wait to see you over there. All right, Nevada, good Friday. Let's wrap this thing up as we head into the opening day of Ohio State's football season.
I can't wait for it. Enjoy every play. Don't turn it off when it gets big. Watch the second team, watch the third team, watch the quarterbacks, and let's watch this magnificent defense roll out there and just clamp down on folks. And let's see what Chip Kelly's got in store for people. But just enjoy every game. The seasons go too fast. Just don't look so far ahead that you miss what's going on right in front of you, because these seasons it's going to be over before you know it.
Totally agree. Appreciate you guys kicking with us on Friday. Hope you guys are ready to start the weekend. We'll have a post-game show tomorrow evening. Imagine around 8:30 or so is what we'll shoot for. The game will go 3:30 to 7-ish. I'll have to boogie home. So I'll plan it for 8:30. Again, I appreciate you guys being on here, enjoying your Friday night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. That is huge for what we do. And again, we appreciate all of you guys that kick with us each and every night. What a great night. What a great season this is about to be. What a great podcast. What a great website. Again, BuckeyeScoop.com, dominating the competition, and it's really fun to be a part of. So I appreciate all you guys kicking with us and keeping us as the #1 rated podcast in our sector. With that being said, if you guys want to do something fantastic, get on your iPhone, look at Apple Podcasts, click Buckeye Scoop, search Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. Even if you guys don't listen to it, we get credit for it. It is huge. Leave us a 5-star review. We also get credit for that. We are growing all of our podcast mediums. The audio one is growing very quickly, along with YouTube. I know that obviously this is best digested on YouTube. And again, I appreciate all you guys that are on here each and every night. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. It's time to beat Akron. Go Bucks.